Hello everyone and welcome back to Python lessons and Codecademy. Today we will be starting a project called Taking a Vacation. Well, we kind of started it last time by reviewing functions, but today we will be officially starting it. So let's see what we need to do. So when planning a vacation, it's very important to know exactly how much you're going to spend. This is an example of how to define a function, and how, if you want to know more about functions, just watch a few of my previous videos. So let's start off by defining a function called hotel cost, with one argument called nights. The hotel costs $140 per night, so the function hotel cost should return 140 times nights. So return 140 times nights. So $140 per night. Let's see. Okay, so this is correct. So let's move on. You're going to need to take a plane ride to get to your location. So what this function does is defines a function that accepts a string as the argument of fruit. So let's see what we can do with a function, with an example like that, for what we actually need. So let's define a function called plane ride cost, which takes an argument called city, and the function should return a different price depending on the location, similar to the code example above. So if you want to go to Charlotte, if city equals Charlotte, oops, misspelled that, then return 183. elif city equals, let's just do this to make it quicker for me. elif city equals Tampa, then it should cost 220, so return 220. elif city equals Pittsburgh, sorry if I'm not pronouncing these correctly, because it's difficult to pronounce some names. Return 222, and else. You can do else or elif here, but if you do elif, it's more correct, because then you can say if it's not any of these cities, then the argument is wrong, therefore city not found or something. So I'm just going to use elif for now. Then if you're going to Los Angeles, then it's pretty expensive and it's $475. So let's save and submit code. Did we not do this correctly? Oh, it needs to be equals, not one equal. I made a mistake. And plane ride cost. What's wrong with this? I don't understand. That takes a string city as input. I don't know what's wrong with this. Oh, I don't need to have a semicolon there. Okay, so now it's correct. So what's going to happen is, if this function is called plane ride cost, and if you enter, say, I don't know, Charlotte, then it's going to go into the function, see is city, so Charlotte, equal to Charlotte, and because it is, in this case, it's going to return 183. The same will happen if it's Tampa, it's going to return 220, or Pittsburgh 222. So let's move on. Now we need to make a function that will give us the cost of the rental car that we're going to use, hopefully. So let's start off by defining a new function called rentalcarcost, which takes an argument days, and it needs to calculate the cost of the renting car. So every day you rent the car costs $40. If you rent the car for 7 or more days, you get $50 off your total. Alternatively, if you rent the car for 3 or more days, you get $20 off your total. You cannot get both of the above discounts, and it needs to return that cost. So this is a bit more complicated, but I think I know how to do it. So just like in the example above, this check becomes simpler if you make the 7-day check an if statement and the 3-day check an elif statement. So how you can do this is if days is smaller than 3, then you just return days times 40. elif days is bigger than or equal to 3 but smaller than 7, then we need to return days times 40 minus 20, and else, well, hopefully it's not negative days, because otherwise this might return a mistake. So just to make sure that it's not going to be incorrect, we're going to do and days is bigger than 0, and here we're going to put elif just so that later on we can have a check in if we want to have a check for mistakes. elif days is bigger than or equal to 7, return days times 40 minus 50. Oops, not 590. So let's see if this is correct. So for 7 days it returns 216 instead of 230. So 7 days is here, it's bigger than or equal to 7, return days times 40 minus 50. So 7 times 40, oops, 7 times 40, 280, minus 50, should return 230, but it says that ours returns 260. And is smaller than 7. Oops, I did the mistake that I warned you not to do. And days is smaller than 7. So let's see if this is going to work now. No. None is of the group for. Okay, so it actually wants to test with 0. Okay, so what I did there was, you can't think like a computer and say that if days is smaller than or equal to 3 and smaller than 7, you have to say if days is bigger than or equal to 3 and days is smaller than 7. I know it's kind of stupid, but that's just how a computer works. So let's move on. So I think that this is just to put some things together. So below our existing code, let's put a few lines just to make it clearer. Define a function called tripcost, and this function needs to have 2 arguments, one city, the other one days. like the example above, have your function return the sum of calling the rental car cost, hotel cost, and plane ride cost. So how we can do this is just simply call all of these. Instead of nights, we can put days there, and days there as well. We can just call these functions and return what they give us. So and plus, then rental car cost and city. So let's see if this is going to work. Yes, because you are allowed to call one function inside another function, and what this does is goes into tripcost function, then when it sees return, it goes into the return sequence. So then it calls hotel cost, because that's what it wants it to return, hotel cost with the argument days. So if you have, I don't know, 3 days, it calculates 3 times 140 and gives that plus rental car cost days. So that's going to be 100 plus plane ride cost depending on the city plus that, and it adds all of those values together and returns them. So let's move on. So we need to modify the tripcost function definition and add a third argument, spending money. So plus spending money, and here we need a third argument called spending money. Modify what the tripcost function does. Add the variable spending money to the sum that it returns. Okay, so it doesn't want it as a function, it just wants it as a new argument. So it's going to calculate those costs and then add the spending money onto that. So I think that this is going to just finish it off. So let's see how we can tie all of this together. After your previous code, print out the trip cost of Los Angeles for 5 days with an extra $600 of spending money. So how you can call a function is put the first argument that it wants in the first slot, the second argument in the second slot, the third argument in the third slot. You have to put something in, I think it's in the so you have to put something in for each argument, otherwise you're going to get an error like you see here. So now what it's going to do, it's going to calculate the cost of all of this and it's going to print it. So that's one pretty expensive holiday. So if you want to go there, maybe just check the prices on internet, might be a bit quicker instead of just guessing. So for now, thank you for watching and goodbye.